everyone, my name is Joanna Melendez and I am doing this video for my enrollment management and retention class. And today we're going to be discussing the importance of resources within high schools for underrepresented minority students, or URM students, which is the term I'll probably be using throughout this video. And today we have with me Brandon, who's going to give me a brief introduction and a little bit about his personal and professional life.
Hello, my name is Brandon. I graduated in 2019 with a bachelor's in social work. At the moment, I'm fortunate enough to be working as co-director of crisis intervention at the Coalition for the Homeless.
And Brandon, just a quick question. Do you believe that you identify as a URM student, or did you identify as a URM student throughout your collegiate career?
What is a URM student?
I'm glad you asked. So we're just going to give a brief overview of what a URM student is. So underrepresented minority students typically include Black, Latinx, or Indigenous people who nationally have lower college rates compared to their white counterparts or other white students. However, URM students are important to higher education institutions, and these institutions need to focus on keeping these students enrolled for two key reasons. First, when URM students drop out, it highlights larger social inequalities, leading to more student debt, poverty, and lower lifetime earnings for them as a whole. It also costs universities and taxpayers a lot of money when students don't finish their degree. Second, keeping URM students in school leads to better educational outcomes. Diverse groups bring different perspectives and skills, which help improve academic performance and research results. Retaining these students isn't just a matter of equity, it benefits everyone. So Brandon, I have a few questions today. Hearing this overview, do you believe you identify or identified as a URM student throughout your collegiate career?
I believe so.
Okay. So, jumping in, why do you think URM students leave their higher education institutions?
For a variety of reasons, I think. I think one big one is financially. The cost of universities or colleges can be expensive, but also I think the lack of resources. I think many, at least Latino community families, especially for first generations like me, in a sense of being the first generation American citizens with immigrant families, they don't understand or know what resources there are. Systemically, I think, I think that's where there is some comparisons with the homeless community. I think there's a systemic issue in America where there is just lack of bringing forth the resources. There are things that you just don't know. And for me, my experience was going to college, and then I found out that there's a lot of resources out there, but your family won't know because there's a system. Financially, there's no way to be given these opportunities.
So just to recap what you said, depending on low socioeconomic status, resources that are not provided into the high schools that underrepresented minors go to.
Yes, sir.
And just no familial knowledge regarding higher education institutions.
Definitely.
So he hit on three key points that actually underrepresented minority students. That is actually the reason why underrepresented minority students do leave their higher education institutions. So according to Ramos, in the Pathways to a Four-Year Degree, the circumstances disadvantaged students experience at both home and school can present daunting challenges to four-year degree completion. Parents with low socioeconomic status have various demands on their lives. So because of this low economic status, these students tend to attend low economic status high schools, which is something that I experienced and I believe Brandon also experienced when he was growing up. And these low economic status high schools lack the resources that are needed for these students to continue on in a higher education institution. So these low funds for support programs and services, low funds for highly qualified teachers that can teach them more in depth of what they need to learn in order to obtain a degree or to move forward in a higher education institution. Inadequate career counseling, which is something that I didn't experience. It was just you have to apply for a college and then you go to college. And no academic rigorous course offerings. And because of this, low socially economic students are less likely to have adequate planning and academic preparation by the end of their senior year. Another thing that I found, according to Ludecki and Coro, is that many times URM students get unintentionally pressured by their parents to obtain a degree. Do you believe this is true?
I think so, yeah.
So, a growing body of scholarships shows how students from underrepresented backgrounds develop expectations and aspirations within the family. For example, research suggests that parents strongly encourage post-secondary attendance even among families where neither parent attended college. None of my parents attended college. I don't believe any of Brandon's parents attended college. And we are both first generation college students within our family that were pushed to go to college. And then something else that I found really interesting in Salingo, who gets in and why, is in to think of financing financial aid packages for accepted undergraduate students, consultants, and enrollment managers are constantly playing with the parameters of their model to find the right mix of students in each box to hit a specific revenue target. So basically, we're viewed as dollar signs. The best models produce a class that maximizes revenue and is filled with the kinds of students the college wants. That means at many schools, financial aid doesn't always go to the families that need it the most. Do you have any thoughts?
I agree. It makes a lot of sense, and I feel like I can identify with those topics.
Why do you believe high schools impact or influence the retainment of underrepresented minority students?
I think providing the proper guidance. I think you mentioned before there is lack of guidance from teachers or counselors, staff in general in the education system. My mother, until this day, I think believes that applying to FAFSA will follow her to her immigration status, for example. You can see the lack of understanding or the lack of knowledge for a basic thing like applying for FAFSA.
Again, you hit very important key points, is that high schools need to provide these resources and knowledge and classes or educational based information for parents and for students that don't have the means or don't have the knowledge of what it takes to get into a higher education institution, especially for URM students. According to Raquena Onze, a quantitative study, the interplay of the role of high school counselor and school culture on college access of underrepresented students, research has indicated that with the assistance of guidance counselors and college access programs, URM students can successfully overcome obstacles to attend and be successful in colleges.
I was right.
Not many high schools have this. I remember my high school, although it was a very small high school, my graduating class was of 90 students. We still only had one guidance counselor for the whole junior and senior class. That's 180 students if there are 90 students in each class. That's nothing compared to what we could have had and the resources we could have been offered if we had just hired one more, but unfortunately, due to our low economic status, we just couldn't pull it off. Again, according to Raquena Alzeni, guidance counselors can help to place students in appropriate classes based on student data and needs. With this being considered, high school counselors play an essential role in college and career planning for underrepresented students, which unfortunately many URM students do not have the opportunity to experience. Evaluating high school counselors' effectiveness in supporting underrepresented students to gain access to college could be critical. And I completely agree with this. Brandon, do you feel like your high school counselor helped you as a URM student to learn more about higher education institutions?
I don't even remember if I had a guidance counselor. I definitely not. I mean,
to hit that point, also according to Raquena Ozeni, in American high schools, more attention is focused on getting admitted to college rather than college preparation, which is problematic for URM students, such as first-generation students, which we are, students of color, which we are, and students with a lower economic status, which we had. How do you feel about this, hearing this information?
I mean, it makes sense. It's unfortunate that it has to be this way. It's not a surprise entirely, but it makes a lot of sense.
According to Dockery, DJ, and McLevy S., students who did seek out counseling services only sought help for academic scheduling and meeting graduation requirements, and not for how to plan for the future or accessing college, although the majority of students aspire to higher education. Do you think this is because they thought they couldn't ask this question?
Again, I think it has to do with understanding or having knowledge. I mean, you can't ask about something that you don't know.
And you stated that you don't even remember if you had a guidance counselor or a school counselor to
No,
help you
because I
with this.
probably met the guidance counselor maybe towards the end, my senior year.
And can I ask you, when did you graduate high school?
In 2012.
So more than 10 years ago. I graduated high school in 2013. And even then, I don't remember talking to my guidance counselor more than 2 times. And other students don't either. According to Velagood in 2009, also interviewed 8 college attending Latino students regarding their perceptions of their high school counselors. Most students reported a lack of or inappropriate advising about academics, college planning, and scholarships. Several students perceived that their school counselors had low expectations of them, while others described their counselors as setting limits and discouraging their aspirations. Only a single Latino student described her counselor as positive, encouraging, and supportive.
Again, it makes sense, and that's why I guess many people decide not to continue.
Do you believe that high schools and higher education institutions primarily help students who have a higher socioeconomic status?
I'm not too sure. It's most likely that the parents of those students went through this process already.
So they have an internal familial information.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you come from parents that are immigrants and you're the first one going into college, or even the second one generation, like a sibling, you still have no idea how this works. But I believe that it's maybe because of lack of knowledge that we have, that we don't really understand it, and they have that knowledge. They know what they're going into.
So Klugman states, families of high socioeconomic status can pay for college, but they can also activate their social capital to access information that helps their children A, realize that enrolling in a selective college is feasible, and B, engage in successful impression management during the application process. So you're right, familial ties will definitely help with enrolling into college and retaining their college education, unlike URM students. And also, according to Hustler and Bottringer in the Handbook of Strategic Enrollment Management, Table 10.1 illustrates of uses of institutional aid by income quartiles. Well, we see that overall it is the highest income students, those whose families earn more than $106,000 per year, who receive the most money in institutional grants, both merit-only and need-based. In fact, students in the highest income quartile receive almost twice as much, which is about $8,000, in institutional grants compared to low-income families that earn less than $30,000. What do you think about that?
I mean, like I don't think it's a surprise. I work with a population that suffers from a system that it's not really focusing in the needs of those that are in need of housing, for example. I think the system, especially in America, is broken. You would be surprised how difficult it is for a homeless person to apply for benefits because of broken system that is built from people that are in higher social economic positions.
So hearing this, what would be a reason for a higher education institution to choose a URM student compared to a student with a higher social class?
I don't know. I guess it depends funding. If the university or the college is trying to get extra financial funding and the requirements is to have, I don't know, a certain percentage of international or Latin community or African American community population in your colleges, I guess that would be a reason. I don't know if that answers your question.
It answers a different question,
Okay.
not of mine, but you are speaking in regards to a different topic.
My bad.
But according to Cao D in his article, The Uncompelling Interest for Underrepresented Minority Students, Enhancing the Education of White Students Underexposed to Racial Diversity. He states, while the idea seems to help underrepresented racial minority groups by keeping the door open for their admission in larger numbers, it ends up reducing qualified students of color to just their race. Instead of recognizing their individual strengths, they are often seen as valuable mainly for the diversity they bring to the school and the benefits that diversity offers to other students. Other students meaning their white counterparts. So basically, higher education institutions mainly enroll underrepresented minority students. So there can be more diversity within colleges, and so there can be more talk regarding diversity within colleges with a diverse group.
So we're being used?
Essentially, we're being used. So we already know that there's not enough resources in high school for underrepresented students. What do you think higher education institutions can do to provide these resources for students?
I think one-on-one with families, for example, what do you need to do to fulfill and complete that degree in a certain time frame, and give certain information of how everything works out financially.
So like a step-by-step guideline.
I think a step-by-step guideline would be useful, but not only to the student, but to the family. But at least having a step-by-step guidance of how the higher education looks like. All of these things will give you a well-rounded knowledge to orient you in this path or decisions that you're going to make in your future.
One of the major resources that URM students need is to advertise net costs. If you realize, universities just give a sticker price. Underrepresented minority students want to see all of that. They want to see what they need to save up for or what they're going to be ultimately paying. They do not want hidden fees. The sticker price includes tuition, fees, room and board, books, travel, and other expenses. However, the full COA, or cost of attendance, does not reflect scholarships or other grants such as Pell Grants that reduce the overall cost for many students. By utilizing the net cost of attendance instead of using the full COA, universities can reduce the perception that the cost of college is not worth the benefit. So, thank you, Brandon, for your time. I appreciate your opinions and your thoughts. I'm so sorry this took so long.
Why are you laughing? This is a serious matter.
Why are you laughing? Again, Brandon, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And yeah, that's it.
Yes, sir.